Hey, if you're an entrepreneur, it is time you trade your credentials.
Who cares about credentials?
And your degree in for this. I'm Dr. Dan, I'm a coach, I'm a strategist, I'm passionate about the brain, but truly I'm more fired up to help you take your message to the masses. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to grow or get unstuck by trading your credentials and your degree in for a skill. I see this all too often. Too many professionals who are entrepreneurs never reach their potential.
Potential, what's the potential? Yes.
Because they are entitled. Now, if I asked them, they would say, by no shape or form are they entitled. But when you look at it, they're hiding behind their degree, their certification, or their license, assuming that that was gonna get the results. When you break down the definition of entitlement, it simply means this: the fact of having a right to something. Now, nobody wants to be entitled. I've got 3 girls. They are not entitled to anything. They are blessed to have opportunity that will help them earn that which they achieve. So you may be sitting there thinking, how is having a degree or a license or a credential being entitled? Well, think about it. If you believe that just because you have a certification or a license or a degree or a credential behind your name earns you the right to something, you are mistaken. The reality is, and you may hate to hear this, there are many other people that do what you do. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, listen, I've been there. You do it so uniquely, you have a different approach, you're innovative, you're creative, but think about it. There are other people who do what you do in some form or fashion. What separates you is your ability to learn skills that get people to understand who you are, what you do, and how you can serve them. So what we need to first establish is that you must recognize where you're at, the industry you're in, and the real game that you're playing. I know way more credentialed, certified, professional people who are unsuccessful, and those who don't have credentials, don't have certifications, don't have doctorates before or after their name, and don't have any sort of degree or college education.
That's a lot.
Yet they're crushing it when it comes to life and business and influence. I guarantee you know the same. You know more people who are doing really, really well without any credentials versus those who have credentials. And I like to compare it to the Stockdale paradox. There was a story about General Stockdale. He was captured in the Vietnam War and held captive for 8 years. They went on to say that his captors beat him time and time and time again. He had no good reason to think that he was going to get out of there. But he's quoted as saying, "I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into a defining event in my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade." Here comes the paradox. While Stockdale had remarkable faith in the unknowable, he noted that it was always the most optimistic of his prison mates who didn't make it out alive.
They call that a paradox.
What the optimists failed to do was to confront the reality of their situation. They chose to take the ostrich approach, which was to tuck their head into the sand and pretend that things were going to get better. This self-delusion may have been easier for them in the short term, but eventually they were forced with the reality, and that reality was too hard for them to face, and therefore they didn't make it out. Stockdale, on the other hand, approached the adversity with a very different point of view. He accepted the reality of his situation. Now you're asking, how does this apply to you? Well, when you read the business book Good to Great by Jim Collins, he talks about how he found this in the greatest companies. Those who refused to acknowledge the reality of their situation approached business differently. He said that you must retain faith that you will prevail in the end, just like Stockdale, but at the same time confront the brutal facts about your current reality. So I want you to think about your own journey, your own business, your own revenue, your own future. Many entrepreneurs that I see open business thinking that their credentials, their license, their certifications, their degrees are the reason why people are going to listen to them, follow through on the recommendations or the calls to action, and they're essentially going to pay them. This could not be further from the truth. And I got to tell you, listen in here, especially in today's economy, you're dealing with the most cautious, skeptical, informed buyer of all time, which by the way, has more choices to get the problem solved than ever before. The same problems that you claim to solve. So where do we go with this? Well, here's the good news. It doesn't matter if you've been in business for 50 years or you've been in business for 50 hours. You can learn the skill. And the skill comes down to communication. It will literally supersede and override anything else you will do. Yes, including your degree, including your license, including your professional certifications. Why? Because the difference that you're going to make in the marketplace is going to be based around a problem that you can solve. The only way people are going to know you can solve their problem is if you can communicate clearly. Let's take a step back. First of all, address the reality of your situation. If you're not crushing it, there's a reason why. It's not because you're not great at what you do. It's not because you're not an expert. It's not because you can't get results. Because you can't communicate it effectively.
Communication is everything.
I'm telling you, it's the needle mover. Like it or not. And I know some of you don't love this, but I'm telling you, it is the truth of the matter. When you study this for a long enough period of time, you look at the research, you look at the evidence, you look at who's getting results and why they're getting them, you quickly realize it's not about being the best of the best of the best. I hope you are, I pray you are, and you should yearn to be, but not at the cost of failing to gain the skill of communication. Those who can get others to know them, like them, and trust them will reach a level of achievement and fulfillment that others will not. So I hope you're asking, Dr. Dan, how do I do it? How do you communicate effectively? Well, I'm gonna give you 3 things. Number 1, you need to tell more stories. There was research that shows that when a story was put to a product in the marketplace, it increased its value by 28 times. Imagine if your communication increased the value of what you had to your consumers and your prospects by 28 times. What would that do to your business? Who could you hire? How could you scale it? What marketing could you buy? You literally could write your ticket if you could increase your revenue by 28 times. Number 2, use similarities. What does that mean? More metaphors. Research shows that the brain understands things when it's compared to other things they know, AKA using analogies or metaphors. You need to make your message crystal clear, and more metaphors can do that. More analogies will do that. Hear me when I say this. If you confuse, you lose. If you bring clarity, you gain prosperity. And the third one is keep it simple, Sally. KISS, keep it simple. There's a company called Agora Financial who had a series of newsletters that sold a lot of financial products. In fact, they sold billions and billions of dollars worth of financial products over a couple decades. And so what they did is they took these newsletters and they want to find out which ones sold the most. They found out that 20% of the newsletters drove in 80% of the revenue. So then they take these 20% of newsletters and they say, what's different about these 20% compared to the other 80%? And what was fascinating is that the only single ingredient that they could find that was different in these 20% of newsletters was that they were written with communication at a 5th grade level. Your prospects need to hear your message simplified. So tell your story, use metaphors, and keep it simple. There you have it. Stop being entitled. Stop hiding behind your degrees, your certifications, your licenses, and anything that you think makes you more important. What they really want to hear is your true, authentic voice and how you can help them. It's all in communication, ladies and gentlemen. And when you nail this, all else follows. Hit me up in the comments below. Debate me, challenge me, just spell my name right. Dr. Dan, I'm out.